Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedom and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Mat Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedom.
Planned Parenthood has recently engaged in a $12.5 million Medicaid fraud. A settlement has now ultimately resulted. Hi, I'm Mat Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Deryl Edwards, president of Liberty Counsel Action. Deryl, this situation here involving Planned Parenthood is not surprising that they would engage in fraud. Obviously, they're killing individuals, and they don't really care about the safety of women. So why would they not engage in Medicaid fraud? Between 2003 and 2009, the settlement time frame in question now involves a fraud with regards to Medicaid in Texas of $12.5 million.
Well, it just goes to show, I think you and I have discussed previously, how when you start to degrade your values and you're in the business of killing life, you may overlook a lot of other things as well. You have no strong value basis.
Well, this case was brought by the Texas Attorney General against Planned Parenthood, and the whistleblower in this case was Karen Reynolds. She came out pretty good in this case. The settlement on this matter is a $4.3 million settlement. Now, the fraud was $12.5 million, but the settlement now requires Planned Parenthood to pay Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast and the United States of America to pay $4.3 million in settlement money. $2.5 million of that 4.3 goes to the United States. $1.2 million goes to Karen Reynolds, and that's the bounty, so to speak. That is for the whistleblower. So when there's a whistleblower that comes forth, and they have inside information like that of Medicaid fraud, and they come forth as she did, they ultimately get a reward, $1.2 million for Karen Reynolds, and then for the state of Texas, a little over $500,000 to result in a total of $4.3 million. Well,
the good news about this is it may have spurred the government to finally take a look at the money they're giving Planned Parenthood. They gave about $542 million last year to Planned Parenthood, which was an 11% increase in the last 2 years. For that, they performed about 334,000 abortions just last year alone. So the $2.5 million that the U.S. got back is kind of a drop in the bucket to what they actually have been giving Planned Parenthood, but it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's a step in the right. It is a drop in the bucket, no question about that. You know, the interesting thing is this is part of Medicaid Title 19 and 20 that ultimately Planned Parenthood uses to get this Medicaid funding, and also the Texas Women's Health Program. Now, if you remember, Governor Rick Perry and the legislature there wanted to defund Medicaid, the state funding of Planned Parenthood, and they took an effort in that direction. And you know what President Obama did in some of these states? When the states wanted to defund Planned Parenthood, he came in with the federal government saying, well, the federal government will make up the difference. They will require these states to either continue funding or, alternatively, the federal government will give additional funding to Planned Parenthood. And this is in the very midst of the fact that we find Planned Parenthood has committed this Medicaid fraud.
Well, they seem to determine, the White House especially, to fund Planned Parenthood at all cost. And in light of what we just went through and still going through with the sequestration, when they're shutting down the White House tours and they're saying that they're shutting down airport terminals and control towers across the country, but they stubbornly hang on to giving $500 million to Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, you know, and other noteworthy settlement matters here, which I think for, you know, let's back up before we talk about this. Both Republicans and Democrats are guilty, and currently the Democrats are more so, but in the past, Republicans as well, have been guilty of talking a pro-life message, but not actually acting on it. We had a Republican president under George W. Bush, a Republican House and a Republican Senate. And did we defund Planned Parenthood? No. You know, we need to make sure that our elected officials are accountable. Now we've got a Democratic president and a Democratic-led Senate, and there's no way that they are going to defund Planned Parenthood. It's most pro-abortion Senate in history, most pro-abortion president in history. But what we need is a president, we need a Senate, we need members of the House that will actually do what they need to do. In the midst of all of the budget crisis that we have, the spending problems that we're encountering, why in the world are we giving one penny at all to Planned Parenthood?
Yeah, and you can argue with the politicians that are in Washington today, and there are some good exceptions. But as we've discussed before, elections do have consequences, and that doesn't mean consequences Democrat versus Republican. It means consequences there are some Republicans who are going to vote the wrong way on this.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure that the right ones are being put in office based on your vote.
There's no question that there's some really good ones there, like Trent Franks and from Arizona and others as well. You could go down and list of many of them. But we need more. We need a majority of people, whether they're Republican or Democrat, as long as they're committed to the sanctity of human life. We need to make sure that they're committed to our values, sanctity of human life, religious freedom, family as the union of one man and one woman. We need to make sure not only are they committed to it, but that they will courageously move forward to do something to make a difference. This particular settlement, now the Inspector General of the Department of Health and Human Services has reserved the right to investigate other claims against Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast. The government, state, and federal also reserve the right to sue for civil or criminal liability, including current or former directors, officers, employees, agents, and shareholders of this abortion clinic, and so forth. If for some reason it says that Planned Parenthood reneges on the settlement, such as declaring bankruptcy, the government will increase the amount to $6.4 million, which represents 3 times the amount that the government alleges to have been overpaid.
Yeah, the article goes on to say that 3 times the amount that they've been overpaid indicates that you can extrapolate that they actually overcharged by $2 million.
Yeah.
So not only are they performing a horrible service, if you can call it that, of killing innocent life, but they're overcharging to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrendous that they're getting any money at all. Why are we paying federal tax dollars to take the life of innocent unborn children in the womb? Why are we doing that? That just makes no sense. And then beyond that, they're actually overcharging. They're getting more money than what they're supposed to get. It's a fraudulent business. It's a culture of death. Over 42 abortion clinics have closed now in 2013. 70% have closed, I think, since 1991. More and more abortion clinics are closing because they can't meet health standards. The Kermit Gosnell trial, with all of the atrocities and the unsafe conditions and the horrendous treatment of children, is the face of abortion.
Yeah, and as much as the mainstream media tried to squelch it, and I think there were instances where they had said there were hardly any reporters at all in the courtroom, maybe one that sort of stayed through it, the word did get out, and people did learn what horrible atrocities were committed in the name of choice. But the good news coming out of this, or maybe it's related to this, is that the Republican lawmakers, it says, the Daily Caller reports that they announced Monday that the Government Accountability Office has agreed to look into Planned Parenthood funding. So I'd say it's about time.
It's way past time, and we need the members of the House and members of the Senate to stand up in unity and say enough is enough. Let's begin cutting this budget, and let's first of all begin with eliminating any funding for Planned Parenthood. Not one penny should go to Planned Parenthood on the state level and certainly on the federal level as well. It makes no sense to continue this culture of death. When we as a nation support the killing of unborn children, and when we fund it as well, like Obamacare is now going to do at an increased rate, how can we expect God's blessing on this country? How can we expect that this country will continue to survive when we kill our own innocent children in the womb? Really,
I think people should be outraged. This should be, you talk about marches, every Christian who believes in the sanctity of life should really be just descending on Washington, D.C., knocking on doors and saying, you have got to stop this, stop the funding, stop the atrocity.
We'll go to Liberty Counsel's websites. One of them is lifeunited.org. That's lifeunited.org. That's our pro-life, specifically dedicated pro-life website for information, lifeunited.org. You can also go to lc.org or libertycounsel.com, Liberty Counsel with SEL.com. LibertyCounsel.com is a website that brings together a lot of our various ministries, including Liberty Counsel, Liberty Counsel Action, and others as well. Also, when you go to lc.org, remember Liberty Counsel in your prayers and financial support. You can make an online credit card contribution right there as well. If you have stocks or other property, you can call 1-800-671-1776. Liberty Counsel is a ministry that provides all of our services pro bono. Without your prayers and your financial support, we wouldn't be able to advance the sanctity of human life, religious freedom, or the family through litigation, education, and policy. But together, standing together, we can make a difference. Make a difference by going to lc.org today.
You have been listening to Faith and Freedom with Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedom. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.